Hello and welcome to another video. In this video we're playing some Combat Sentinel. I know you guys don't see this character too much anymore. I used to see it all the time, but now lately Marauder's just defensively terrible. I don't know how much focus I get. It's not a super playable class anymore. Carnage still does pretty good. It's just defensively it's pretty paper. So you don't see me play it too often. Fury can still be fun. It is just nowhere near the other specs currently in the game. You usually see me play AP. It's just because AP is just so good and it punishes players for tunneling it. Marauder used to punish people for tunneling pretty well, and it also had camo on top of that, so you could have like a de-aggro. We still have camo, but Defel is gone, so Fury is weaker. And then Fury also got over-nerfed because of PvE parsers clicking off their Zen buff to get their auto crit sooner. So that spec is like kind of gutted in PvP terms. It still can do good, but it's just because of uptime. It's not necessarily that the class is competitive as like AP or Rage. Which is a very tragic thing to say because it's a pure DPS class and its defenses are definitely lacking. Something like Ruthless Aggressor would really help. And potentially just not having to pick Undying Rage personally for Marauder and Sentinel. I feel like the class iconic ability is Undying Rage. So I really don't understand why that's even a choice. And I also feel like Predation is also the same thing, but we both have to pick, or we have to pick both of them. So like we can't afford Ravage Root, even though it would greatly benefit. And we can't afford to take Mad Dash and Undying Rage, even though it would be very helpful. Even having the option to have Ruthless Aggressor, I would love that. So like Mad Dash, Ruthless Aggressor, and Choke, I think that would be a very great selection. You could justify taking each individual one there. Currently I feel like the options are just not very good. Anyway, getting into this match, there's a lot of evasions in this match. So you get the Engineering Sniper. That's already a pain to deal with because it constantly slows me and makes me lose my stacks. Then I also, they have evasion in the roll route, so it's kind of iffy about getting to them, and then they also have a knockback, and I don't necessarily only want to use my root breakers to deal with that. It's not always the best move. And then my other targets are CDR evasion players, except for I think one of them is running Reflect. I don't remember which one, but I guess we'll see it. In general, the way Carnage plays is that it's going to hit a target a lot of times before it does its burst, so it's going to give a lot of CDR. Also Ataru form will proc. And I'm pretty sure Atari Farm also procs the CDR for evasion. So their evasion uptime is at an all-time high. Lethality gets an extra second of evasion, and if they take the talent to increase the duration by another 2 seconds, that's 7 seconds of evasion. That's not good for Carnage Marauder at all. It's not good for any white damage spec in general. And not having a CC really makes it unbearable to deal with. Sure, we might be blowing them up, but it's more so just the fact that they're not doing that good of damage. You know, playing Lethality, you don't have the burst, so you can't answer to the burst that we're doing. We just have a lot of bursts, so it makes it a lot easier for us to push them back. Then obviously, Operative Healer is not very good against burst, and it's not going to survive by itself, especially against burst. So they just kind of like lose in that situation. Sure, it might hurt me specifically, but it doesn't necessarily help them either. It's just like particularly just hurting specifically only me and pretty much nobody else. This is typically kind of like the things that I'll find when I play my main tunes. There's like the compositions I go against are just like so weird, like things you would never see normally when you queue up. Like who expects to see 4 operatives and a sniper? I don't. Especially when there's, you know, I could easily play AP. Like I wouldn't be playing those classes if somebody's gonna run me over with AP. That sounds terrible, but you know, here I'm playing Carnage, which, you know, I do every now and then, but on my main tune it's just like weird. Why is there 5 evasions? Really sucks. It gets really annoying, but typically the way you would play around it is just try to stick the targets that don't have evasion and then just constantly swapping targets. In this situation, I just kill the healer and let myself die for it because I frankly don't want to deal with all the evasions, and I would rather, you know, deal with this. But in this situation, going back to our fight, pretty much going on in middle, because like for the most part, we don't really have a choice of like who we want to fight. Our team is like overcommitted to our place and they're still struggling. The enemy team is just kind of like constantly fighting. And for the most part, some of them are hiding, not all of them are actually like helping us or helping fight us. So sometimes we have numbers advantage, sometimes they have numbers advantage. I know near the end of the game we have numbers advantage for a while, and we can like just spiral from there, and it's simply just because the enemy team has basically given up. And you hate to see that, but that's just kind of like how it goes nowadays. People will give up the moment they think they can't win or leave a match, and you know, suddenly that backfill actually wins the game. It's crazy how little contribution that you need to actually win. And then we get a comment from one of our allies, which by the way is running like getting rage on camo or something. Like he's not doing very much, but he's very angry at us for fighting. Personally, if we bring these guys to our pylon, we're probably never getting our pylon, and they're going to do even more damage, and our team's going to die more. So I really don't think, objectively speaking, if we want to actually win, I don't think we can bring these people to our pylon. If we bring them to our pylon, we're going to have a world of problems that we really don't want. Like, lethality on your node with your team just not really knowing what they're doing is just a absolute nightmare. You've seen me play lethality, you've seen me on ancient hypergate, you've seen me like just play with a tank. Just do a cute as a tank and do like 25k against like 7 players. It is absolutely nasty what it can do on a node, especially when people don't know what they're doing. They're stacking up on the node, which definitely seems like what our team is doing, and also probably what their team would do because it's more beneficial for them. And then also that with our node capped, just getting all these kills actually gives us a large point advantage just through kills alone. Obviously running orbs is nice, but for the most part kills is what's carrying this match outside of having the node capped in the first place, which is really not that high of a standard to ask for. Another thing to think about too, if people are very bad at using their evasion, especially on like operative, or you have a CC to answer to their evasion, operatives only have 5% defense chance, so they are a relatively decent target if they do not have evasion. If they have evasion, it's super annoying, but this is part of why they're dying so fast. Basically, do not miss, and for the most part, sustained damage slash single target burst on Carnage is very high. So if SCC can be basically be secured, there we go. They pretty much get bursted down. And then also we have Lance, which is equivalent to Gore, so that means that they get hindered for 1.5 seconds, which is enough to kind of get them caught between roll. Though I would probably not recommend to intentionally queue Carnage into something like this. And this Thesis person pretty much only engages if he has Saber Ward. That's another thing that I noticed is like, you know, some people only engage with defensives, and it's not a terrible idea, it's just I feel like kind of lame. But I totally get it. Whether I have defenses or not, I don't care. I just want to fight. That's kind of like the whole point and whole kind of like play style that I've always had. I want to win by domination. I don't want to win any other way. I don't feel like we deserve the win, so. Kind of like, I think like there's like one map specifically would be like Civil War. I feel like that's like the only map now that you can't go directly to the side nodes, that you can't really objectively win through just straight domination with pugs, mostly because they don't know how to constantly hold their own. You need like relatively competent players to deal with the constant split strategy. And most players are just not good at rotating. They usually end up over-rotating, and that's probably like the only match where domination is a lot harder to do unless you're able to completely stomp all 3 nodes. Which you do see me do every now and then, but for the most part it's a lot harder. I find those victories to be much more enjoyable because, like, ultimately if I did want to win I could do like 5k DPS and win the match, but that's not fun. There's nothing to be learned there. I set for the node probably 10 minutes of the match or 5 minutes of the match. I could literally do anything else with my time while playing the game because there's just absolutely nothing going on, and 9 times out of 10, if I ever am node defending, nobody comes to challenge me, which is even more boring. And that's pretty much it for this match. So I'm going to free this for a moment here. I want to talk to you guys about something real quick. When it comes to hitting it into evasion, it's not a good idea. There's a problem with Carnage Marauder that it doesn't have a way to proc its Devastating Blast, which is its only yellow damage that it has. So if you're looking to do damage and somebody has evasion, you need to CC them, and once you've CC'd them, their defense chance is 0. So yes, you can hit through evasion if you have CC, but we don't have CC on Marauder, or at least we can't really afford it. So when it comes to countering this class, Lethality is the best one, and pretty much anything with evasion is really good against it. Anything other than that, it's not too bad. Other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I will catch you guys again here soon.